for the recording.
This is juice, boy.
I mean,
I'm letting him know so he comfortable and so he know, just like I'm filling him in.
Man, listen, I done already hit record, so what?
That's what's up.
Because Susan went ahead and started talking.
Yeah, he's ready for this. He's ready for this.
But before we actually record, is there anything that's off limits that we don't need to bring up?
No, it's all on limit. It's all on the record. The filthier, the dirtier, the better.
Oh God!
Okay. We're not holding back here. Like I said, I've been staying silent for an entire week. Now, I appreciate you asking that. No, everything is no. I really don't. I personally am not a very diplomatic person, so I'm all good for all of it.
You are listening to the Soul Curators Podcast, where we get into the funk and soul of things. It's all about good conversations about music. So come join us.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Listen, this is the Soul Curators Podcast. We are back. Listen, this has been an amazing season for this show. I want y'all to know that, okay? And because of the type of year that we've had, we can only think of one person to close this year out with, the end of season 2. We are honored to have producer, composer, artist, musician, traveler, every man, just an incredible talent, a super, super important pillar in this soul community, in this culture, and we just love him to death. One of the greatest artists that we have in this generation, and we are honored to have him on the Soul Curators right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we need you to make some noise wherever you are for Nicolay.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much. It's an honor. It's an honor and a distinct pleasure. And you guys have had a wonderful season. Of course, many of my illustrious compatriots have already made their rounds, and so I'm just really honored to wrap it up. I'm really honored, and I'm just excited.
And it's only right. Like, we're gonna get into all of the things Foreign Exchange Music Group about how wonderful you guys have been in 2024 and beyond. But right now, we are just so excited about you and your new project, and it's just it feels so good to celebrate this with you. So first, congratulations on not only your new project, but all the projects you've been behind in 2024. It's been an amazing year for you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we were talking. I was talking to Fonte about that last night. That it's been a lot of work. Like, it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of sleepless nights, days. But now that we're on the tail end of it, well, spoiler alert, we are on the tail end of it. But it's really nice. Like, as we sort of progressed through the months, and we were kind of ramping up, the releases. Like, it started to sort of materialize. Kind of our strategy and our ideas started to materialize, like, under our own hands, like in front of our eyes. And it's become just a thing where we are just incredibly proud. We feel this might be our strongest year to date. And we've had some strong years. So that is saying a lot. But we started this year obviously wanting to look back and celebrate, the fact that we have come so far over 20 years. And we were thinking about ways to do that. And ultimately for us, I think the most gratifying way would have been with new music, so combining, looking back and celebrating the past with the clear signal that we're not done, that we very much feel like we're at our best currently, you know what I'm saying? So obviously to have all of these projects come out, Darian Brockington's return, Carlito's coming into the fold, which was long overdue. Be My Fiasco, Cy Smith, who I've known since 2004, her first release on FE Music, the Bane album. Shout out to my brother Bane.
Yes.
It's been incredible, and what I'm most proud of is that they're all very individual pieces of music. Like each project, I think represents something truly different. And I'm just so proud of that.
Yes, indeed. So I'm going to start with the fact that your album, you have so many, I would say, I think I posted this on X or Twitter or whatever the hell it's called. FE introduces us to so many artists, and the family of FE just grows. I mean, I was introduced to Zoe, Darian Brockington from you guys, Cy Smith. I mean, the list goes on. And I know that on this album, I first heard, I know who Deborah, no, is it Deborah Jordan or Deborah? I know it's Deborah Bond, but.
You know what? That's a good question.
That's a good question, right? So,
yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Deborah, but if I'm perfectly honest with you, I do not even know. Like, that's my homegirl, so I'm a little bit embarrassed. But
that's okay.
She's from the UK, so I don't know what they do out there. And I previously worked with her on a remix that I did for her of a track that she released called Senses. And so I did a remix called Nicolay's New Possibilities remix. And that was a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I just, long story short, and I mean, we'll get into more detail, but I wanted every guest on the album to kind of similarly as what I was just talking about the release. I wanted every guest to sort of fill a space of their own in their own sort of comfort zone. And so Deborah, she's from the UK. She has previously worked with 4Hero. For those of you who know who 4Hero is, they're kind of the drum and bass gods of the UK. Yes. Some of my favorite artists of all time. So she's got a huge D&B pedigree. So with her, I wanted to do something that was kind of my take on something drum and bass. And so every track, every guest, I think I wanted to put in the position where they could be the strongest them that they could possibly be.
And you did an exceptional job with that. Just thinking about each artist and each song. You've also introduced us to Creative Theory. Of course, that's not the first time. JJ, I can't pronounce his name, but one of my favorite songs, Sunflower, featuring Elko.
Now you got it. Elko. Yeah, Elko von something. He's actually this is a really cool story because he is a friend of mine from back in the day in the Netherlands. Him and I used to play in funk bands together in the 90s, in Amsterdam. He's an incredible singer, also an incredible fusion guitar player. He's one of the best fusion guitar players in Europe. He's voted best guitarist in Music Maker and stuff every year. And so he's looking back, sort of one of my oldest, not in age, but in terms of going back, collaborators. And so I'm super proud. It's the first time in my career that I've worked on new material with somebody who was a part of my previous life, if you will, way before there was ever Foreign Exchange or even Nicolay, for that matter. He's a wildly talented dude. He had written the song years ago, and we reconnected a couple of years back, and I just heard it and I was like, wow, this could be, I've been meaning to do a Stevie Wonder tribute for a while, but I didn't want to do it in a way where we did a cover or where it was sort of laid on very thickly. I just wanted kind of people to figure it out themselves, but I wanted to do a tribute to Secret Life of Plants, which is my favorite Stevie Wonder album of all time. And so this is kind of that, and Ilko sings the absolute bejesus out of that song. He takes off. He's
we
fearless.
have a person in our personal.
Hold on, Chris. Hold on, Christina.
Okay.
Hold on, Christina. Christina, I got to give you your flowers. I got to give Christina her flowers. We talked about the album when it dropped, right? The first thing Christina put in the text chat was, "Hey, doesn't it sound like Stevie Wonder?" You called that early.
Yes.
So shout out to Christina.
And to make it to even more, we have all types of conversations about music, right? And I'm like the least musically inclined. I can't play an instrument. I'm not really like too good on like what's the sample. But Soup said, I wonder if the entire album, what did you say? The entire album or just a specific song?
I was wondering if that song was specifically the song from that Stevie album, or was it just a take on the whole album in that one song?
It was a take on the album in the one song, but like, to be honest with you, Stevie's never far away in terms of inspiration. I think over time I've said a lot about Prince as a huge influence for me, and so there's always that factor. Like the first song, 1,000 Miles with Cy Smith, is actually a subtle ode to the Under the Cherry Moon era of Prince and groups like The Family that he did around like sort of 85 Prince. And so I think like subtly, this is an album where I didn't want to tell people exactly what I was doing, but each track is informed by particular influences of mine, like how Roll Up, the track with Creative Theory, is a Parliament Funkadelic tribute. So there are a number of, I really just wanted to sort of show, I guess, how these influences over the years have shaped my sound and how they allowed me to find my own voice, and how they were all instrumental in kind of making up the, I suppose, the bouillabaisse of what I do. You know what I mean?
So that was leading into my questions because you started out with the funk band, and I just remember reading something. You started out, you was doing funk bands, and you didn't think music was gonna work, and then you went ahead and got a 9-to-5, and then you get on OK Player, and then here's Nicolay. And going back to working with someone that you were with in that band, how did that, like, you've done so much. You've got Foreign Exchange, you got the funk band from the Netherlands, and then all of that coming into this one album. Was that done on purpose, or was that just something that just came about as it was going? Because it's a funk thing. It sounds like connected. It sounds like there's so much going on. And I'm just trying, like, was this done on purpose, or was it just you got into creative spirit? It was just like, we just gonna go.
Nah, it was really done on purpose. Like I designed this album to be, so I worked on this album for a good 5 years, quite honestly. I first started with some of the first tracks in 2018, 2019. And then I kind of took a little bit of a side tour and did the Analog Dreams, the EPs instead. Like I kind of did those first, and then the ESPN movie came onto my path. And so that took me sort of a full year of work. But I've really worked on this album for 5 years. And what I really wanted to do, and I appreciate you saying that, because that was exactly what I was hoping for. Like I wanted for this album to touch on literally all of the years in my life that I've been doing music one way or another. So yeah, I totally wanted to do some connected feel. I haven't really gone back to that feel in a good number of years. So one of my things that I wanted to do is I did want to give people a taste of the connected feel, and I did that with the Sky Zoo track, among others. But the Sky Zoo track was kind of my going back to my hip hop days, if you will. Bringing Elko on board was a really kind of an homage to my early beginnings, where we would literally play in Amsterdam, you know, and opened up for people like Bootsy Collins and Larry Graham and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I really wanted to try and see if I could bring these 25 years of, you know, I turned 50 this July. So I really
wanted to,
yes, listen. Yeah,
I turned 50 in May. We here.
Yeah, man. So I really wanted to try and see if I could bring these 25 years together and do like a big old like sweep of just everything that I've experienced over the years, and incorporate as many people as possible that have meant something to me over the years. And of course, you can't get everybody, and I'm quite sure there'll be a sequel of some kind to this album in that sense, like a part 2 or some of that, but yeah, it really, from the first track.
Was that exclusive?
That might be an exclusive. Oh shit! That might be the first exclusive of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Nah, that is definitely an exclusive, and yeah, like I'm sort of, I'm like I said to y'all in the little pre get together. I don't, once I start talking, I just let it out, and then I'll deal with it later. You know what I mean? But
Right.
but nah, yeah, I really was very happy. So thank you for saying that, because that was exactly what I was hoping to achieve and to do with it. Kind of a bird's eye view of 20, 25 years of music, and with some of my absolute earliest collaborators, but also some of them the newest, like Bane is a relative new guy on the scene. Skyzoo is somebody who I just met I met him over Father's Day weekend this year. So even though like we've always been fans of each other, and we move in the same circles for sure, but we had somehow never met. And my girlfriend actually introduced us. Like, she's a good friend of his. Skyzoo is actually in Atlanta, and so that was something that, so like it's both people that I've worked with for like 20 plus years and people who I've literally just met, and it feels like a really, really gratifying sort of mix to be able to do that. And I've done a couple of albums at this point, so I really wanted this one to count. Like, I really wanted this one to reflect like who I am. Even the title sort of kind of alludes to that a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what I was trying to do.
Before I get to my question, I want to say how you see us grinning and beaming as you talk, because it's kind of affirmation for us, because we've been talking about your album since it dropped, right? And having conversations we have amongst ourselves about all music that we love. And everything you're saying are things that we touched on. Am I lying, y'all? Like, we all said those things. So to hear you say it and confirm it, it just makes us feel so great, because it's like we were right. It's like we caught everything you was trying to do. And it makes us feel great about that. So
that's incredible. I mean, I really, that makes me feel incredible, because like the thing that I'll say is about making music is you don't know until it's out of your hands. Like, you really don't. You know what I'm saying? I've done this long enough to realize that you can have all these great intentions, but once you let it go and puts it in the hands of the people where it belongs at the end of the day, you know what I mean? That's really when you kind of find out like if your plans came to fruition, if you will. So really, really amazing to hear that, and probably more meaningful to me than I can even put in words, that you guys like not only got sort of the underlying message, but that like some of these tracks individually kind of checked boxes is really, really incredible to me, because it is a labor of love. I don't think people realize like how, like I was joking to Fonte the other day how I said that Terra Firma damn near put me in the infirmary. But it was really the last couple of weeks of it was just 16-hour days, and just like I turned the album in on a Thursday at 6:30 in the morning after like a 48-hour session, and we went into mastering. I think it was 9 o'clock that very same morning, and the next Tuesday it was out. So it was really, really fresh. although I worked on it for 5 years, but it was really fresh when it dropped. Like it was really like I'd done this wild sort of ant sprint. That was like something I haven't done in a minute. I will probably not do again ever, because when you're 50 years old, these things these things hit differently, man. You notice, like it's like every bone in my body was hurting and popping and cracking, and it was just, I sat in this chair and it was just, I couldn't get up almost, but it was incredibly rewarding.
So to my question, all right, so I can firmly say that the album is a fun listen. And when I say fun, it's because I must speak for myself, but I'm sure my people agree. Every time I listen to it, I find a new song that's my favorite. Like today, I got a new one. So, but we have to go back to my first favorite. So now listen, Mr. Rook, I got to call you by your third name. We have got to know the story behind the Posse Cut. The Posse Cut. Light It Up. Light Another One. That Posse Cut, in the flow of the album, when it came on, I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy.
That like connected.
Yeah, man. So that one, credit where credit is due. That was Fonte's idea. Just long story, very short. We did a demo called Light Another One circa 2011, I think, maybe something like that. And it was a record that was intended for an artist named Devin the Dude. And for
H-Town, baby.
Yes. And we had just done it was a track. I'd done the track at the time, and Tay had just laid a hook. And the idea was that Devin would rap over it. Now, I'm not sure what happened, but either way, that didn't come to fruition. And so it was like sometime in the pandemic, maybe a little bit after, I came across a demo. I was like, man, this is one that got away. You know what I mean? And so I completely redid the track. Like I completely redid the music, made it a little bit more washed out, and updated it. And I sent it to Fonte. And so I was like, man, I think there's something here. And initially I kind of was like, let's just get some raps on it. Let's get some people rapping on it. And he was like, I don't know. I don't really know, but let me think about it. And then at some point this year, like early this year, what would be cool is if we turned it into an R&B posse cut. So, he basically sent the track to everybody. Like he sent it to everybody in the team and was like, yo, if you want in on this, like just do your thing, just write whatever you want to write, just sing whatever you want to sing. And I think it was Carlita who first came with her verse. Like Carlita first turned it in and we were like, yo, this is amazing. And she starts with that roll up line, which kind of tied it into the roll up track, which is also a subtle, not so subtle homage to the almighty herb, if you will.
Yeah.
That was a nice coincidence. And then Darian came with that verse and it was like, oh shit. And then Fonte again, like I just want to make sure that I credit him. He had the idea to end it the way that we did, where we asked JJ to bring his guitar in, and he did some mouth percussion and he took it to a completely different level. And then we obviously had Bianca, we had Be My Fiasco come in with some more ad libs. So that was one that I literally, the final mix was that Thursday night, that Marathon says, I think it was like 2 a.m. I was like, okay, I finally got it. It was like it had like 80 vocal tracks on it. Like it was just ridiculous. Wow. But I kind of knew, like when we had it, I was like, yeah, this is the one, or at the very least, this is a one in terms of just lead tracks or kind of heavy hitters that people will really love.
Mr. LP, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Producer, he got a question.
Yeah. So my apologies on this interruption. First off, I've enjoyed this interview thus far. So I want to talk about your transitions, Nicolay. So I remember when I distinctively remember It was on City Lights Volume 2. I can't pronounce the name, so forgive me on this, but it was number 8. Is it Omo Tesado?
Yeah, Omo Tesando, yeah. Yep.
So the transition from into the song and then the transition out is extremely beautiful. But a couple months ago, I think you released Here on Bandcamp, and so when I was listening to that, you did it again on Let It Shine, and the way that Let It Shine goes into The End Is Near is crazy. Please tell me if you like to share the recipe of your transitions, can you talk about that? Like, cause that's a musical thing that, you know, a true musician thinks about. Like, that's when the scientist, the magician comes in when it comes to that. So could you explain the Nicolay transition magic?
Yes. Well, I'll try because a lot of it is sort of instinctual, but like what I really like, and you'll hear the same on Connected and on most of the City Lights records. Even though for this one, I deliberately didn't do much of that. Because for Terra Firma, I just wanted to present people a collection of 15 songs, and I wanted to keep it really straightforward, largely because in the playlisting era, these transitions don't really make a ton of sense if you start picking these songs out of the sequence. Sure. You know what I mean? So I noticed that a while back when people were like making their own playlists with some of my tracks, and they will end real abruptly because the second half is kind of going into the new track, you know what I mean? But it has a lot to do with the fact that I like DJing a lot. And that I have always enjoyed sort of making my own DJ mixes, whether it's in the studio or live. And so for Let It Shine, for me, like, it was one of those things where you sort of almost come across it like by accident, where you realize like, okay, these two are in the same key musically, you know what I'm saying? Same rough chord structure or whatever. And then before you know it, you start looking at it like, I think they're also relatively close in BPM. So these things you kind of notice when you start messing with them. And then like in that case, like I was just taking elements out one at a time from Let It Shine on me for me, and then bringing the elements in for The End Is Near one by one. So by the time that Black Spade starts his verse, all of a sudden you're in a different track, and you don't really notice it until that moment. Another good example is the moment into Can't Turn Around on Love and Flying Colors. That's another one that's really fun where, you know, I kind of slow the track down because there's about a 10 BPM difference between the two, and I start slowing the track down, but in a way that you almost don't realize it. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're in a completely different track. So I've always really liked doing these transitions, and I think for me, it's sort of based on, I think in the late 90s, when CDs were coming out and people were really using all damn 70 minutes of these CDs. You know, a lot of the CDs that I really liked, especially R&B and hip hop, would kind of employ those type of tactics, a lot of interludes, a lot of transitions. So that's kind of where that comes from.
Real quick, then I'm gonna hand it back to him. But it's funny you say that because I was listening to your interview on Questlove Supreme, and just your technicalities when it comes to hip hop is very respected and honored, because I feel like I'm the only person that be thinking these things like transitions, interludes, etc. So it just made sense to hear when you was talking about how you was enjoying hip hop before you came to America or whatnot. It was just very honorable. It goes to show that people love hip hop in a very extraordinary way, and people can receive it in so many ways. So I appreciate you and honor you for that knowledge that you have and your magical moves. So all right, I'm going back to the dark.
No, you good. So I have a couple of questions about the songs, the different songs. First of all, we haven't told you what our favorite songs were. So I guess I'll just start with that, right? Okay, so mine, of course, is Sunflower, because of just the way that I can't pronounce his name, but the way he flows on the album, I mean, on the song, he sounds a lot like Stevie, but yet it's like, I know it's not Stevie, but it's just, it's a tribute is beautiful. Also, I always loved No More Waiting before it was on the album. I mean, I thought that was a pretty good jam. And then
thank you for putting No More Waiting on the album. Thank you for putting No More Waiting on the album. Thank you.
And I also enjoyed Yazara's song, because that, to me, like you said about bringing it back to Connected, that's for folks that have loved Effie since Connected. It's like, okay, yeah, this takes me back to a time when I fell in love with Foreign Exchange. So I guess I don't have a question. I just wanted to tell you my favorite songs on the album.
Love it. Well, I'll say this about Yazara. It was a massive honor and huge delight, of course, that she to be working with her again, because that literally was 15 years ago. Like, I didn't really even realize it, but the last time was for the Authenticity record, and it was literally the song "This City Ain't the Same Without You," and. As heartbreaking as that song is about a relationship sort of going bad, it was also at that point sort of the end of our collaboration. So like there was sort of a real kind of bittersweet feeling to that. But Yazara has always been so incredible to me, so warm, so loving, and she believed in me from the earliest days of the Foreign Exchange. And Yazara is also on the Here album, where she does the track Adore. And in many ways, I wanted to sort of mirror the Here album, because that was the time I did a solo production album, if you will. So I knew that I really wanted Yazara to be on there, but we hadn't worked together in the FE setting for 15 years. And I think Fonte, like if I remember correctly, Fonte just sprung the demo on me. He didn't even tell me, like he had the track. This was a track that I did early on in the sessions. He had the track for years, and he always knew that it would be part of. We both always had talked about that this would be one of the key tracks of my album. And I think it was April or May of this year that he just sprung the demo on me, and I was like, holy shit balls. I don't know. We could cut that out. We could cut that out.
We good.
I was like, yo, it's Yazara. And that to me was one of these pure joys of this album, that is like not just the musical not the musical collaboration so much as the human, the interhuman connection and the love. Like, I want people to really know, like, I love all these people. Like, these are not just like, oh, you're really dope and I want you on my album. Like, every single person that is on this album is somebody who I truly love and would ride or die for, you know? So Yazara being back was a major deal. And No More Waiting is a special one for me, because like No More Waiting and Separate Ways are kind of two sort of bookend tracks that deal with the end of a relationship and moving forward with your life, which was something that at the time was happening in my life. So I wanted to have a little bit of not so much autobiography, but I wanted to show people sort of like on a subtle level of the things that I've been going through. So No More Waiting was a big deal to me, because it was not only just do I love how the track came out, but it says something really specific that I wanted to be represented on the album.
Amen.
Amen to that.
So my since Christina was able to tell what her favorites were, my favorites so far have been Facial Recognition with Skyzoo, and then Light Another One. Those are you talked about those already, but I just wanted to let you know that those are my favorites. But my question also is, with the joy that you have with creating this album, I know there was some issues with maybe like a beat block or like a production block? Did you have it, like, you were creating this for 5 years? Like, how did you get over those hurdles of those production blocks and or the beat block?
I don't know if I would call it beat block, but you know, like, the thing about it is, when you make music for 20 years, there are just moments in your life where you don't have anything to say. And the first time that happens, it's pretty frightening. You're just like, oh shit, somebody closed the door. You know what I mean? Like, the faucet is like, it's the first time is really scary. And then you start realizing, like, that, you know, it kind of comes in phases, you know? So when I say I worked on it for 5 years, I didn't work on it for 5 years in a row. You know, it was more the chronological, but there were months where I was doing nothing or working on other things. Like I said, the film that I did for ESPN, that was most of my 2022. That literally took a year out of my life. So I mean, the way that you deal with it is what I have always known for myself, is that I really kind of trained myself to just sit down and do it. Like, I'm not somebody who just has to be quote unquote inspired or have incest burning or like any kind of, you know, things to get in the mood. Like, I sort of trained myself to just get up, eat breakfast, and at 9 o'clock, like, I sit down in the studio and I just see what happens, you know. And there are days when what happens is not what you were looking for, and there are other days when you get more than you bargained for, you know. So I always tell people there's just as much unreleased stuff in my computer as there is released stuff, and but none of that is, you know, all of that, to whatever degree, is well, I'm not going to say it's trash, but is not released for a good reason, because, you know, there are days when you either do something and you're just like, nah, this is really not it, or it is a conduit to what is it, you know, like how I always liken it. Well, I don't compare myself to Rembrandt, but Rembrandt would used to do these sketches, and then he would sketch, and then he would do the full painting based on the sketch, you know. And so a lot of tracks that I do may have one or two, sometimes even three kind of pre-studies where I'm just trying something out, and then I might either use it for something different, or so yeah. It's you kind of learn how to do it regardless of what mood you're in or what day it is or what you feel like.
So
go ahead.
Were there any tracks on here that were like that, where it was just like, nah, I don't know if this is gonna work, but then it ended up turning to be something?
Light Another One would be one, just because of the time that it took, you know, like we came back to it after so long, you know what I mean? There were a few where the mix was difficult to me, because I'm a perfectionist, and so I know when I'm hearing it if it's perfect or not. Like, and by perfect, I don't mean that in an absolute way. I mean to myself, you know what I mean? So it might feel, you know, but when it comes to mixing, like, my process is very simple. I hear stuff that I don't like, and I'm fixing it until I no longer hear anything that needs fixing, you know what I mean? So some of these mixes took a really, really long time, because I had a certain musical picture in my mind that I was chasing down. And the hardest part about making music is realizing in reality what you hear in your mind, what you hear in your head. In your head, it's always fantastic, and it's symphonies and violins and beautiful, you know. And then when you hear it, you're like, man, it sometimes takes a long time before you can bridge the gap from what you hear to what is really on the record, you know. So a lot of these tracks took me many months, like, again, not consecutively, but going back and forth to really kind of get them to their best form. Like, maybe Tomorrow, the closing instrumental, was one that I had the kernel of the idea for years, and I just wasn't really sure what to do with it. I really didn't know exactly what it could be. And one day I woke up and I was like, what it can be is what it already is, which is an instrumental. So sometimes you overthink it. I'm an overthinker sometimes, and then I realized that the answer was always sort of right in front of me. So
yes, indeed.
Speak on it. Yes.
So as we think about, we were very excited. I know we can't overstate that enough. We were super excited to talk to you because of, and we started thinking about, I thought about this earlier. I'm like, why are we so moved about this opportunity to talk to you? And I got to thinking about not just your discography with other artists, but also your personal discography. And when you think about it, this is probably going to be the part of the interview where I'm going to need you to talk your shit, because when we first fell in love with your artistry, speaking for me, like all of this was black back then, like all of this. You know what I mean? And brown. You know what I'm saying? And speaking for probably all of your listeners, we've gotten married, we've raised children, we've gotten jobs, we've graduated college, all of this. You were the soundtrack for all of that. And then here you are still giving us soundtracks for adulthood and paying bills and living life and raising kids and being married or involved or whatever, voting or, getting insurance, all the grown up stuff. Like your music has been part of raising a generation. And
Thanks.
I just need you to take a second to realize, and this is my question for you. Do you understand who you are to us? Like the way you came to the United States, you were already doing music, and you have solidified yourself in the culture so intrinsically that you can't separate yourself from it. Your fan base, we love you a different type of way. Like it's like you've become one of those names that anytime you drop something, I don't give a fuck what the single is. We're gonna get it, we're gonna rock it, and then we're gonna love it and live. And you have music that we live with. It's not something we just play every once in a while. We actually live with it. We go to work to it. We work out to it. We raise children. We have conversations with people. You are there. So I just want you to understand, by asking this question, I'm actually answering it. Do you understand who you are to us as this generation?
That's a really moving point, man. Like I'm really moved by that, and it's interesting because I've recently have had a lot of conversations about this with my girlfriend, because she at some point made the point. She was like, I don't think you see the way that people see you. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you have done things that in people's lives that you're not even aware of. And the funny thing was, like, I hadn't done any live shows since the pandemic. My last live shows were in 2019 when I toured with the Hotted Nights for the Glaciers album. And so I did my first show in 5 years this past September. And like all of a sudden, it all came together. There were people from California, from Texas, from Missouri, and they all told, like, that night, people took the opportunity to tell me, like, face to face, you know what I'm saying? Like what our music have meant in their lives. And it was really a moment where it hit home for me. Like, it really was like a very emotional thing for me, because I've sort of like in Dutch culture, like, just to fully kind of paint the picture, Dutch culture is the type of culture where you're sort of raised to just be like everybody else. Like, you're raised to kind of, like that. There's a saying where they say, like, just act normal because that's crazy enough. And so the funny thing is, it's very different than what I experienced in the United States, where excellence is celebrated, individualism to whatever degree is celebrated. And so, like, I don't always allow myself to even realize, like what we have achieved, for the simple fact that, in my culture, that's kind of not done. You know what I mean? Like everybody does whatever they do. And I think there's a healthy side to that, which is that I've never become an arrogant son of a bitch. Even though I'm on the verge, like, trust me. But nah, it really, I think it helped me sort of keep my ego in check. You know what I mean? Because that was always important to me. Like, I was like I love praise, and I love knowing that what I do, like, I believe that I'm one of the best to ever do it, because if you don't believe that, then what's the point of doing it? But at the same time, I never wanted to buy into my own hype, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of other people that are also great, so but there's a darker side to it as well, where you just don't sort of accept your own greatness, you know what I'm saying? And that I think we all, as human beings, we have our own journeys, our own paths to walk, and I believe very strongly in even mentally thinking in a way that will give you the best results of any endeavor, you know what I mean? Positive thinking, building up in terms of even just the choice of words, in terms of the words that you use, you know what I'm saying? Be very deliberate about, I don't really go as far as saying manifesting, but kind of that is what it is to me, you know what I mean? So recently I've really started sort of, partly I think by us being, by the group being 20 years old, and just the reactions that people had about Connected being that 20-year mark and what that meant in their lives. I've allowed myself to do a lot more reflecting on what it is that I and we have done, because honestly, man, over the last 20 years, I've just been keeping my nose down and just grinding it out, man. Like when we had this opportunity with Connected, we both were just like, we can't let this train, you know what I'm saying, pass by. So we just try to hold on, and we felt that we had to keep pushing no matter what, even during times where we had turmoil in our personal lives or something like that, we would always keep pushing, and we thought, well, if anything, the music will reflect, where we are at any given point of time. Like that's how you get to like an authenticity album, you know what I mean? Where you kind of really let sort of the circumstances in your personal life, maybe not always literally, but certainly kind of come in and inform what you do. So recently I've really had a lot of time to reflect on what you basically just said, and realize that, man, people have danced their first dances on their weddings to take off the blues, or, have sang Leave It All Behind to their young sons. And, you just realize, like, wow, like, we just in here kind of doing this and doing that. People take that and it becomes a part of the fabric of the soundtrack of their lives. And if I think about what are the records that are important to me in my life, growing up or currently, then that's the moment where I realize what an incredible honor it is to be allowed to be a part of people's lives in that way, because that, to me, I can't think of anything greater other than being like a doctor, you know what I mean? Where you can make people better, like on a health level, you know what I mean? But other than that, I can think of anything that you could do that would be able to better the lives of people, So I'm just hugely grateful for that. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because it this year has kind of been a year where I finally started to see it, and allow myself to feel it.
Yes.
Before I turn it over to you, Christina, one last thing. Okay, so to that point, right? The music that you're behind, as far as creating, it's just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like from the other side of it. It's kind of become like a safe space for our generation, because ultimately the music you make really kind of outlines what we're going through at that time period. And I know for myself and for my crew, we can all tell people, if you want to know anything about me, listen to this conglomerate, and that will tell you pretty much what I'm about, because you guys deal with realism and realistic, and you're not taking us somewhere else we've never been. it feels familiar. It feels like music we've been hearing in our heads since we were babies, but we didn't know where it came from. It's like you guys kind of galvanize it and put it together and make it palatable for us. And that's why, like, when we see you at shows, it's like, oh my God, Nicolay's there. Or like when we had the chance to bump into you at Made in Durham, we were super fucking excited. We was like, oh shit, Nick is here. It was so exciting to see you, because it's like we feel like this podcast is a floral podcast. We are going to give you flowers. We're going to pour into you, because we need you to know we're the people who listening to, like Mr. Alp said, we're listening to the transitions. We're listening to the songs that's not singles. We're listening to all of those things, and we know the story behind the people that you're working with, because we know that you guys are not just working together. Y'all are family. So it means something when the song comes on and I hear Yazara. I'm like, oh my God, it's Yazara. That was special for me. I told Christina that, like, I was so excited to hear her voice on your song. You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that. We are attached to it. And we need you to understand why we're attached to it. It's because of the greatness that you're doing. So we get the humility and we appreciate it, and it's all that. But sometimes we need you to know exactly who the fuck you are to us. And you're so important to us. So again, thank you for giving us an opportunity to tell you that.
Thank you so much. I mean, it really fills my heart up, man. And I think I always, like, I talk to young musicians a lot, and the question that I always get asked is like, what advice do you have for anybody coming into the game right now? You know, and one, I tell them, like, look, I'm old. I don't know. You know, I don't know. But then when I really have to come up with something good, I try to explain to them that if you go into the music business or music making in general, the reward of the process has to be enough for you going in. You know, like, it's one thing to ultimately want to do this for a living or want to make money, but if the process of making music is not already reward enough for you, then it likely isn't really going to be the right path for you. And I've been very blessed to have seen a certain level of success, so maybe it's easy for me to say, but I truly feel that the joy and the human connection that I found in and through music is more important than any sort of Billboard or any kind of Grammy, which we should have won, but that is neither here nor there.
Okay.
But I'm growing into my role. I think, like, again, the human connection for me is so much more important. I've made some incredible. I've been fortunate enough to meet some incredible people, to foster some beautiful relationships with people that are all, in their own way, very different from me, specifically background. You know, I come from a very, very small country in Europe. And so OK Player for me was in a lot of ways, like, while people know it, you know, as kind of the springboard of what we became, for me at that time in my life, it was kind of a window into a world that I really wanted to learn, wanted to know more about. You know, I was exposed to hip hop by way of Yo MTV Raps, like, quite honestly, like, because at some point we had a European MTV, and that was largely based out of the UK, right? And so they would do, you know, a lot of UK shit, and you know, it is what it is. But at some point they started airing Yo MTV Raps. Like, I want to say it was every night. In my memory, it was every night. It was Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, and then in the weekends they aired the Fat Fetty episodes, where he went a little bit deeper with some of these groups. Like, I remember a Leaders of the New School episode where he hung out with them. I remember, like, a ton of those episodes. And so for me, that was how I got exposed to hip hop. And from there on out, like, I just grew so fascinated with the art form that I wanted to learn everything that I could about it. You know, I really wanted to eat, breathe, and sleep it. And I didn't have a lot of people in my actual physical geography, if you will. Like, I had a best friend that was similarly passionate than I was. I had a couple of friends that really liked hip hop, but I wasn't part of a scene. I wasn't part of, like, kind of like a group of people that were on the same level, whether it was musically or otherwise. And so, as you alluded to earlier in the show, you know, I thought that music would never be a thing that I could do, you know, as a career path, because when we played with funk bands, we might have a show once a month, you know, like, yeah, George Clinton would play in Amsterdam, and then we would always be the logical choice to be called on to open for them, and that was always amazing. But that wasn't something that we ever made money with, right? It was just pure for the fun of it. So I had literally quit, you know, that, because I thought it was kind of an irresponsible thing almost, you know, as an early 20-year-old. I was like, you know, I need a job. So I got a job at a call center, an internet help desk, which was absolutely just killing my brain, you know what I mean? Because here are the people that call you up with the most ridiculous questions, and yet you have to give them the respect, you know, that it's just like, look, you're calling the right person, but I think you're probably just not built to even learn how this works, you know what I mean? Like, but you can't, you know. So just what that took, like on a personal level, is like, man, like, so when I would come home after a day's work, like, I would be absolutely, you know, gorked. I'd be zonked. I'd be just done. And so at some point, making the beats, that became a thing that I would use to blow off steam. You know what I mean? And what I loved about making beats was that I could do it on my own. Like, I could turn my computer on. I didn't need guys in the band, you know what I mean? With all due respect, like, I love these guys, but this was something that I could just do in my off time. And so I started making these beats, and I'd heard all this music, but I never had an MPC or anything like that. I really didn't know how hip hop beats were made. Like, initially I had the naive understanding that it was the guy with the 2 records in the back, you know what I mean? And then later got to learn that there was much more to it. So production for me really began as just an outlet against the boredom of the job. And I, at that point, if you would have told me like, oh, somebody from North Carolina is going to hear your beats and going to do some songs over it, and the legend is born, if you will, I would have never believed you. I would have, because I was on the other end of the spectrum. I was like, music ain't gonna never pay my bills. You know what I mean? Like, it's never gonna happen, and I gotta be an adult, and I gotta be this and that. So I'm kind of also like, I'm a late bloomer in that sense. Connected came out when I was 30. You know what I mean? So I'm also, I think, an example of kind of never give up, you know, or that it's never too late to follow your passions or your dreams. Like, if you've got something to give the world, like, it's never too late. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's definitely true. So I want to go back to, I want to come current. I know you did a show in North Carolina, you said, where you DJ'd and you kind of went, I'm assuming you kind of went through your discography. Are you going to be doing that in other cities, or are you like done for the year? Or are you
are you going to be coming to? Yes, that is something that I really want to do next year, 2025. Okay. Like, I started doing these things kind of as connected celebration shows, but then now with the new album coming out, it becomes this thing of like, oh wow, like I got both. You know, I got new and old, and it's been so much fun. Like, basically, what I do in a nutshell is I take our multi-tracks for every single song that we've ever done, save a few that you know. I mean, it can't be all my favorite, right? But I take the multi-tracks for our songs, and I DJ with those, and so that allows me to take drums or bass from one track, take vocals from a second, take the keyboards from a third, then mix it all up and turn it into a new burrito.
I don't mean to cut you off, but you know, I'm not musically inclined at all. Okay, so could you explain what a multi-track is, please?
Yeah. So the multi-track is essentially all of the elements that make up a song. So you have drums, right? You know what drums are. You have bass. Yes. That would be another one. You have vocals. You have keyboards, guitars, whatever. So let's say you have a track. Let's say light another one that is like probably easily like 100 different tracks that make up the song. So what I'll do is I'll kind of distill it down to like, okay, here's the drums, here's the bass, here's the instruments that do the chords, here's the instrument that do the leads, here's the vocals, so that it's a little bit more manageable. And then I do that for every track in our catalog.
Wow.
And,
so they make fun of me. So that's why I asked that question.
I was gonna let y'all I was gonna just let that happen. Y'all obviously are people, and like listen. But I mean, it's a valid question. You know what I mean? And if I speak in jargon, like please please ask me to expand, because it's important that I never want this to be like on some like difficult shit. So like I'm glad to explain, but not so. And that was really amazing. And another thing I did for the connected tracks was I took a lot of the original samples, and I kind of show people sort of like a glimpse of the kitchen, so there were a lot of samples, for instance, that people had no idea that we used them, that I played that night. And then so the first half of the set is more or less hip hop and soul and funk related, kind of around the 80-90 BPM, sort of mid tempo. And then the second half, all hell breaks loose, and it's like house all day, all night, 120 BPMs. So we do all of it. We do roll up. We do asking for a friend. We do just the moment. We do so what if it is. And by we, I mean that in royal plural.
I have one more question. So the reworks that came out. When did the reworks come out?
2013.
So. I love that some people sleep on the album, but I love that album. How did that album?
And you know why? Because I have a lot of them in my attic.
Oh no!
It was one where I think we learned, like, and I mean that's all good. Like they can't all be hitters, but like that was one where we learned, like, okay, we must like it ourselves, and that obviously has to be the point of entry. But it was just, I think it wasn't clear to some people what it was with the remixes and stuff. But I will say this: so what if it is probably one of our top 10 records.
Right. I was going to say you guys did introduce that one. Yeah. So I enjoyed. That was one of my favorite.
And I think the fact that it happened in the year that Love in Flying Colors came out, it kind of, it may have sort of muddied the waters a little bit. But that's an amazing. But to come back to your initial question, like I want to do that in every city in the United States if I can, because I had such an amazing time in Durham. Like it was incredible. It was the first time ever in my life that I did a show completely by myself. Like it was just me on the stage. And I walked out and I was like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, because it was all these people are there and they've got this look of hope and expectancy and like excitement. And I'm just like, where is everybody? And it's like, oh, right. It's just me. And then it kind of turned around into like, whoa, like this is something else. You know what I mean? Because I've always been with the foreign exchanges. Fonte is I mean, I would go into war with Fonte, you know what I mean? I would literally enlist, you know what I mean? Because that man is such an incredible frontman and leader. And even with the Hot at Nights, I would have other people involved. But this was the first time that I was by myself. And I really want to go all over the motherfucker in 2025 with this shit. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
That's my question. You say you want to go to every city. Does that include Cleveland? Because
now listen. In the case of Cleveland, we're gonna have an offline discussion about that. I'm fucking with you. I mean, it would. I mean, the thing about it is, like, it would. Like, I'm just playing. It would. The thing that I don't want to do anymore, and this is gonna be a letdown for people, but I don't want to tour anymore. like if I can help it. Like, and by touring, I mean, I'm going to this, and then tomorrow I'm going there, and then the next day I'm going there. And by day 3, I'm exhausted and cranky, and I'm eating shitty food. And, that, I love doing that when we were doing it. But like, honestly, man, when you're our age, like that just doesn't sound super appealing. So what I'm doing now is just, I go to a city, I do my thing. I might do a Q&A during the day, or like a meet and greet in like a record store, or like a Red Bull Music Academy type interview. And then at nighttime I do a show. And if it's a big enough city, I might do 2 in a row, you know what I mean? But then I go home, and so you don't really live on the road anymore at that point. And I know people keep asking a lot about, when are y'all gonna go on tour again? And the answer to that, man, is just like the older you get, the less appealing that becomes. And it's not like we don't have anything left to give. And I'm sure we'll do live shows again at some point, even together. But then it's going to be something where we just come to a city, we shut it down, and we go back home, So that's kind of the answer to that question. Yes, absolutely, Cleveland. Do
you see yourselves doing another festival like the Made in Durham Festival, but Foreign Exchange Festival?
I could see that. Even though I wasn't involved with the organization of that, and I heard it was a massive undertaking that took a lot out of everybody involved. Like, I was just there chilling, like, y'all. I came there and I was feeling like $1 million because I didn't have to do shit. Like, it was beautiful. The weather was nice. People hadn't seen me for a minute.
Mr. Kumar was saying, like, you was standing there just like a fan, but everybody around you, like, that's fucking Nicolay. Like, that's Nicolay. Like,
it was crazy.
Did they hit you? Like,
because when I drove up, I live about 2.5 hours out of. I live on the Atlantic coast, so I'm not in the area. So I drove up, and at first I couldn't find the entrance, because sometimes I'm just in my head and shit, thinking about music. So I was just sort of looking around, and found the entrance, and then it took me a good hour to get where I saw y'all. Because like people were just like, oh my God, they hadn't seen me in so long. And it literally took me an hour to even make it to that point. And so by the time I was there, like I think Zoe had just started playing, or at least that was kind of what was going on. So I just decided like I'm just gonna enjoy that set, you know what I mean? And I just spent honestly the rest of the day at the VIP section just hanging out. Like I didn't really like. There's a hilarious anecdote about that day. I never even saw Fonte that day. Like I never made it. Like people kept saying, man, like let's take another photo, let's do this, let's do that. And so it was hilarious, but it was a beautiful thing because that was one of the first times I was somewhere and I didn't have the pressure of having to perform or otherwise be responsible for what was going on. But I do think, like, to come back to your question, I think that would be a great way to incorporate, I think, a lot of the different artists that we've worked with over the years, so I think that at some point that might make total sense. I just, again, saying that from a perspective of like I know that Fonte has told me a little bit about all that it took, and it was a lot because, like, if y'all remember, they closed down the street and they had to get the permits from the city, and like the bus line had to be rerouted. It was the whole thing, and I commended him on how incredibly well organized it seemed to me, how well oiled, and just there wasn't a peep. It was just an incredible event. But that would make a lot of sense that we do something like that, because there are so many people at this point who are part of our community of artists, you know what I mean, that it would almost be a shame to not include everybody.
I could easily see a FE festival. Oh my God, that would just be a dream. I know it's a lot behind the scenes. I know.
And I totally have to host this. Like, if I'm not hosting, I'm sorry.
You got the media right here. So like, if y'all decide to do this festival, Hey, y'all need help with it?
Y'all get backstage first access. No, I think that would be an incredible idea, and we've talked about that in more abstract terms over the years. It's like, how is this gonna, what would we do and stuff? And again, we just for this year decided that we wanted to focus on releasing new music, and that's why we ended up not doing any shows, because again, we felt that we wanted to look back but also look forward. But it does sound like a great idea that maybe at some point in the future we could pursue. For now, I'm very much like enjoying doing my own thing, because like I felt that was an area of my artistry that I hadn't really fully explored yet, was to be on my own on a stage. And what does that mean? And talking to people and telling jokes and just, like that whole side of me I hadn't really ever explored, and I enjoyed that so much that next year I'm going to do hopefully a lot of that. Hopefully I'll come to Cleveland.
In Atlanta, of course, Atlanta. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, definitely Atlanta. I've been working on Atlanta. I've been working on DC, Baltimore, stuff like that. So don't really have any exact. This Friday, I don't know when we present this to the world, but this coming Friday, I'm actually in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I do kind of a repeat of the Durham date. So that will be really, really great. And then on the 23rd of November, I fly to Minneapolis, where I will join Bane. Like, I will join him and his band, and we're going to play the entire Lifetime album live in Minneapolis, where he's from. He's a Minneapolis guy. Shout out to Prince. So, I'm starting to sort of go more out there recently. And I love that. I've missed it. I mainly miss seeing all the faces, man. Like, just seeing the people. Like, I didn't realize like how much I'd missed that, because when the pandemic first broke out, I was like, no way in hell am I ever going to do a concert again with all these motherfuckers, because you just don't know, you just don't really like. I just got really just like, man, is that ever going to be a good idea again? You know how it was early in that pandemic. Everything was like hella suspect.
Yeah. I think we referenced.
Yeah, then it became a thing of like everything got more expensive and gas. So like the first couple of years, like it was just not smart to even do anything live show wise. Luckily, we've evened out a lot of that stuff, and so I'm really excited to be back on the stage, because that's something I've really missed, man.
We reference that event so frequently because, like Soup said earlier, a lot of this program was formulated similar to how the Foreign Exchange Project was simulated, where we just galvanized from different parts of the country. The first time we'd actually met in person was at Made in Durham that weekend. So it really is a special moment for us. So when we got there, not only was that the element of it too, we were backstage with all of you guys. I know you saw us back there joking and laughing with everybody, and it was like, it would be dope if they did we talked about this then. So we've been asking, people in that, organization, like, hey, have you guys thought about doing that? Because apparently now, people will pull up wherever you are and do it. You guys don't. If you not want to tour, that's not even an issue anymore, because we'll pull up. You know what I mean? And
I think we really learned that even between the Made in Durham and then my show, where I was like, wait, you came out here from Oakland? Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, people were out here from everywhere, Pennsylvania. And that was so special to me, because like I was like, who would I go to freaking Oakland for to go? You know what I'm saying? I really had to think. I was like, probably would have to be the ghost of Prince or some shit. But man, like that was such an honor, you know what I mean? Because, like for somebody to go like across time zones to be in the same space with you. And I guess that goes back to that conversation we just had, man, where, that's the moment where you realize like, okay, like I've meant something to these people to a point where they really, really want to be there no matter what, and that's an amazing thing. So, I mean, there was even some people from there were people from other countries and stuff. And I was like, holy, Toledo, so that, I think the next few years, I think we're going to see like how that all evens out. Like I know right now Fonte's doing a lot of stuff with Little Brother again, because they have the I think it's the minstrel show that is like 20 years old next year. So we've started this sort of period in time. We were talking about it not too long ago, where like there's a cascade of albums turning 20, and even Leave It All Behind is not too long from now. So it's gonna be interesting. We're celebrating all these albums like that are turning 20. So it's like each album and each era kind of deserves to be highlighted specifically, So, but yeah, we're going really strong, and I think what we've done with the label this year shows that we can take on different forms. Where we used to be a group, we used to be a duo, then we became a live band. Now we're kind of doing the label thing, and who knows what will be next,
So, being that I'm from Houston, I have to give you a shout out. I want to thank you for the Here Project. And I want to know if you can get Kay lazy ass out the house again, because he won't come outside. I talked to him. Kay's a friend of mine. I talk to him frequently. So the Here Project is a really, really incredible project. We loved it here. It was for we took it as our city thing, because that you put yourself in the Houston lexicon when you got with one of our greatest MCs and put that project together. So thank you for that. And I would love for you to try to get his ass out the house, because he don't come outside.
Man. He was here last year. Like we hadn't seen each other for a long time, because like truth be told, what happened with Kay was like we did the Timeline record, and that was like a really, really big record for the both of us, and the Grammy nomination for Leave It All Behind kind of stifled the growth of that record, in the sense that when Leave It All Behind came around, it was like, okay, this is what I gotta do. So Timeline kind of didn't get the a lot of the attention that it deserved, but Kay is an incredible talent and a really good friend of mine, and so we caught back up a year ago, and we did talk about working together again, and I would really, really like to. I think the Timeline album in particular deserves kind of a sequel, and maybe this is another spoiler, maybe just putting it out there, but I would really like to revisit that with him. And we talked about it, and then off and on. I mean, he's a family man now, and he's got a great job, but he's doing a lot of production now. Like he's kind of going into the production lane, and he's honestly really, really, really good at that. Like in some ways, just as good as I am at this point. And so, but I would love, that would be something where I would love to follow up on that.
Absolutely. I give Kay
a couple of loops that I still want to close when it comes to that, and that certainly is one of them. And shout out to Kay, man. That's my brother. An amazing.
Yeah, I love Kay. I give him a hard time only because I'm a fan of his. So when I see him, I'm like, what? Is hell freezing over? What's going on?
I mean, hey, he's got a beautiful family. I mean, I get it,
He does.
And he's got, but that is something that I would really, really like to revisit with him, perhaps next year. You know what I mean? If
absolutely.
What I got out of this conversation right now is that you have a knack for getting artists out of retirement. There's a special artist that we would like for you to get out of retirement.
Okay.
Oh my God! I know where this is going.
By the name of Nicolay. If you can get him out of retirement.
He didn't retire, did he? He didn't retire. I mean, he's been on my list, man. Like he has been on my list for a minute. Like, and I've met Dwelle a few times, but it's always been in passing, sort of like, oh, he's coming off the stage, I'm getting on the stage, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like always there. I was a really, really big fan of of his first EP, and then the Subject album. My bad. and always been a massive fan of his. So that would be. I still have a list. Like I'll put it out there. I still have a list of people that I would really, really love to work with.
Can you tell us that list? Because I'm sitting in my head. Okay, we have to ask him this one question before we get off. Who would you like to work with? So you just perfectly segue.
Yeah. Into it. I would. Layla is on that list for sure. Layla Hathaway. I would love to work with Layla. We've been connected, no pun intended, but it hasn't really happened yet. Layla's amazing. I really always wanted to work with Maxwell. I'm a big Maxwell fan. I was really into some of his records. I would love to work with Maxwell. Jill Scott is somebody who I would really like to work with. Clara Hill, she's a German singer. I've been trying to work with her for the last 20 years, and every time it almost happens, we kind of lose touch. We kind of get out of touch. So Dwelle is another one. There we go.
Listen, if we were supposed to be bringing out our shit, then let me go get my shit.
Let's bring it out. Let's bring it all out. Let's put it all out on the table. Let's whip them out.
You're trying to show out. Look at it. I'm gonna post mine when we get off.
So I don't know. I'm listening to this list of people, and that would be the greatest compilation album of all time. Nicolay with featured artists that his favorite artists that he's wanted to work with. Like that would be and you can do that. Like you're Grammy nominated. You one of the dopest producers of all time.
I can't. But at the same time, like the thing about it is, like I at moments in my career I wanted to do that, but it becomes a lot, and it's so much easier to call Carmen Rogers and be like, Carmen, I need this tomorrow. And Carmen Rogers is like, okay. Or, you know what I mean? So, like, while I've always sort of had my own sort of dream people in mind, honestly, there's nothing better than working with the team, man, because the team is all on the same page, and there's no politics, there's no managers, there's no nothing. It's just us. And so I've come to see that as a strength. Even Leave It All Behind, like real talk. Leave It All Behind, like this is maybe another, well, I don't know. I've probably said this before, but maybe not in so many words. But Leave It All Behind was an album that Fonte and I, there it is, beautiful cover, that Fonte and I designed, where we were going to do it kind of in a more of a Jam and Lewis type way, where we would produce these songs on all these people that we admired. And we talked with quite a few of them leading up to the album, but it just was a lot. And so at some point, Tay was like, man, I think I'm gonna have to sing these joints myself. You know, he never intended to do that for Leave It All Behind. So that was kind of the moment that we realized, like, do we try to kind of get our foot in the door in the industry, quote unquote, or do we just come up as a team? Do we kind of do it with our own people? And that has been the see, now y'all in the chat. I can't listen.
Because look, you just dropped a bomb on us.
In my mind, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, damn, I can't hear.
No, wait, who are these songs for? Like, who was this?
So I can't listen. I can't divulge that because some of these things were situations where, you know, feelings were involved and other things. And I mean, I don't want to. I wouldn't want to do that without giving somebody the opportunity to defend themselves.
You understand? Yes,
just know that I'm looking at these song titles. I'm like, oh.
There were a number of people that we had, like, you know, that were actively, you know, being talked about. Or
don't get it twisted. I Want to Know As It Is a beautiful, perfect. I mean, the bridge is what I go back to. Let me tell you. So that's my favorite album of all time for Effie. That's on the top of the list of many. So
it's up there.
It's perfect.
Can I say something about that song?
Yeah.
That is my anniversary song with me and the wife.
Wow. Well, it's probably our most romantic, or like it's one of our most. But it's a real. It's the way that Foreign Exchange does romance is a reality version of it, right?
Yes.
It's not flowers and candy and teddy bears. It's like
Right.
it's an adult, a grown folks version of it. Now I do think I Want to Know was always going to be Fonte. Like I don't think he wrote that for somebody else. That was actually the very first track we recorded for Leave It All Behind in the summer of that is from the summer of 2006. And that was the song that kind of that sort of pulled us back into the compilation, because after Connected we weren't quite sure what would happen, because Little Brother was still Foreign Exchange was a side project at that point. And Leave It All Behind kind of changed that a little bit. But I Want to Know was one of the first ones that we did for that record, and was a highlight for us because we both kind of upped our game with that one. Fonte by doing the multi-tracking of his vocal and just really kind of growing into, that's sort of one of the first steps that he took to grow into his own as a singer. And then me really kind of trying to do the R&B thing with little horns and little strings and that bridge that goes into a different place. So, yeah, that was, but yeah, there were a lot of people, like ultimately we didn't want to do it ourselves. So to come full circle with that topic, it's just like we kind of learned during that album that we're best off if we just keep it in the family, and that doesn't mean that the family isn't open to accept new members, as we've shown, so any of these romantic people, just give me a call, or hit me with a DM.
So I was going to say, in terms of like you all wanting different people who you want to work with, you guys, both you and Fonte have done such a amazing job with the collective and this effing music. Like I posted today, it's like, this is just 2024 alone. How much music did you guys put out? Y'all better put some respect on these motherfuckers. You know what I mean? You guys are, you all are shit. Yeah,
I counted this morning. We did 12 releases this year as a label, which is the most we've ever done in 1 year. Little singles, EPs, full albums. We've never done that much music in 1 year, and that was my desire. Gareth Duncan is another one. If he happens to watch the show, hit me up. Like he used to be another one. Like his. Have
you heard his new album this year?
I did. Well, I've heard the new song. I didn't know there was a whole album.
It came out last week. Yeah.
Yeah, that dude is
Gareth.
so good. Oh my
Gareth,
God.
holla, Gareth.
Yeah, man. Your hand on every one of those projects?
What's that now?
Did you have your hands on every one of those projects that came out?
Not all directly, but certainly I run a lot of the operations on the label side,
right?
And so some I did and some I did not. You know what I mean? And I think we really wanted to have, like, some projects were kind of really in the FE incubator, if you will. Some others, like for instance the Carlita EP, she did that completely on her own. Like she executed that 100%, wrote all the songs, chose the beats. She had the artwork done, the photos and everything. So we also believe in trusting, especially like people like her, with executing their own artistic visions, because like at the end of the day, like that's what artists do, you know what I mean? So so musically for me, it was really, I did the whole Bane album. I produced the entire Bane album, and then I did the FE single, and then I had the ESPN the soundtrack. And but at that point, I was already so bogged down in my own album that like that's kind of what the year was for me. Fonte did. He was involved in the Darian Brockington record. He had definitely helped Bianca with hers. So, and of course he had Pacific Time too, which was another absolute banger. that I personally was really into. Like that was a great project. So the Psy album was another great one this year. So I think we definitely dropped some heat, and I'm just really, really proud. I'm also tired. I need a trip somewhere, you know what I mean? Like, yes, you can clap for that. Yes,
yes, indeed.
Yes,
well deserved. You guys,
it's really kind of interesting. Like I'm, because even the show, like I had to really prepare for that. So, but it's been an amazing year, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really, really proud. Like as an artist, you have to believe that your best work is still in front of you, right? Otherwise, what would be the point? And I know that people really love Connected. I know that people really love Leave It All Behind, but we're still hungry. We're still interested in what is the next thing for us. You know what I mean? And so I think that the thing that is great about the Foreign Exchange, both me and Fonte as the duo, because even our single was a new thing for us, doing the Sade cover. That was kind of a completely and then at the same time with the Gray, we wanted to kind of do a subtle nod to the Connected era. You know what I mean? So we're still so excited about making music, man, that like in a lot of ways we still believe our best work is in front of us. So we can't wait what the next few years will bring. I think if 2024 is any indication, man, it's gonna be crazy. So we're keeping going. We're going nowhere. Like we got a lot of more irons in the fire, a lot of plans that we're making, and that's on top of all the albums that are turning 20 over the next few years.
We've been very loud about when people have, mentioned you guys collectively and individually, when there was a time where there wasn't a lot of output from Foreign Exchange Music Group. We've been champions. It's like, no, they cooking. We know they cooking. Just hold tight. We didn't realize y'all were cooking this much, but we knew y'all were cooking.
Right. We did. Yeah. Well, and then I will say that about, I think, so in the age of social media, something that can be interesting is, like, I really appreciate y'all because you guys appreciate what it is that we have to offer, and value it and give it a place in the timeline and give it the proper decorum, if you will. What I see a lot in the social media era is people that say, I need this or I want this, or kind of like as though they place an order at the drive-through window. And it's sometimes like the thing about it is like if you're on, but we use social media, of course, so you can't always unsee that, but it gives you a certain feeling of like, man, like it is interesting. Again, I would sometimes wonder, like, Prince during the age of social media, and somebody be like, man, we need another Purple Rain, dog, like on Twitter.
Like what?
or hitting up Tribe Called Quest and being like, man, like that Midnight Marauders, where's part 2? Like, I think it's interesting how people are so comfortable in saying what they want. We actually have a song about that called Authenticity, which says you just want what you want.
Exactly.
And aside, it really feels good to be in the company of people that appreciate what we do without asking for more. Even though I know we all want more and there will be more. The attention span of people nowadays, man, is really kind of interesting how, it never seems to be enough sometimes.
Right. So, and then they don't let albums, you got to sit with it for a little bit. Even with Cy Smith coming out with her album in January, it's like we can't be, and I guess I feel as a consumer and as a fan that we have to take a step back sometimes and say, okay, we got to let people, artists, create what they want when they want, because if we just want some shit, then we'll be complaining about it being not good. So it's like,
Well,
let them be, you know.
I think my theory about that is, in the age of Hulu and Spotify, is that as people, we have been saturated in terms of we have everything now, right? So I'm not judging. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm guilty of this too, where I'm on Hulu and I'm like, okay, I just finished Shogun. When is the next? You know, what can I like? You constantly have like, you want the next thing. You want that instant gratification. The problem is, like, creative people realistically can't keep up with that type of model, you know. Right. So, you know, music takes time. Making great TV takes time. Making movies takes time. And so, like, at the end of an album, like, I told y'all earlier, like, I have given all that I've got, and I need to recuperate, like, literally, right. You know what I mean? And then it's time for the next one. So I think as people, we weren't designed to have everything, because I think it's made us kind of spoiled a little bit, and it has made our attention spans just the size of ants, you know what I mean? So I think my theory is that at some point we're gonna hopefully go back to a model where we let ourselves be surprised with what's being given to us, rather than that we ask for what it is that we want.
I honestly think we're headed in that direction now.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Foreign Exchange Collective, and I also mentioned there's another collective called A Room Full of Mirrors. That's on the hip hop side with TDE Punch, and he got a couple of other people. And they created this hip hop collective, but they're also about subject matters and, you know, substance and different things like that. And they take their time with their artistry, just like you guys take your time with your artistry. And that's starting to become a trend of artists actually taking time and creating something with substance. An example is Tyler, the Creator's new album. That's, that's something that is, you know, artists are starting to make this a thing where this is going to start being a trend again, where when we press play, we're going to get a story from top to bottom. We're going to be able to come back to this years from now and just be like, this is timeless. And there's a lot of the microwaving music is starting to get pushed to the side. And it's just amazing how great you guys have stayed that course throughout your whole 25 years of making music. You stayed the course of creating something with substance, creating timeless music. And I just want to say thank you for that. Like, you've been a soundtrack to my life. My kids, you know, when we travel down to Virginia because my mom is down there. Foreign Exchange is on, you know, Dutch Master is on. There's something from you guys' camp that's being played in this road trip. And I just want to say thank you.
That's amazing, because like timeless is a word that I can come back to a lot, you know. And when I grew up, like my artist was Prince, and he would do this thing, and then he would have a look and a band and and then he would disappear for a little bit, and he would come back and he'd have a different haircut and a different band and different colors, and it was a whole different thing, you know what I'm saying? And I think we're gonna go back to a model. And it won't be. It might take some time. It won't be. It might take a longer period of time. Yeah. But we realize that, like, that art and entertainment, you know, because it doesn't need to be highbrow shit. You know, art, music is entertainment as much as it is art. You know what I mean? And I certainly feel strongly about both sides of the coin, you know what I mean? But I do think that it's time that we reappreciate and relearn what art it means and does for us on a human level, on a day-to-day basis, and that people that do that have to be given the opportunity to be able to do that at a pace and and being fostered in a way that makes sense. I think these writer strikes and the TV strikes kind of really showed, you know, that like a lot of these big companies are squeezing the absolute shit out of these creatives, you know. And the reason for that is like, and I tell people this all the time, and I'm not trying to get on my soapbox, but
no, go ahead.
Allow us for a little bit, but like Spotify is not a music company. Spotify is a tech company. And so it should be no surprise that Spotify isn't necessarily super concerned about making sure that the musicians, the artists, get a fairer share of whatever the pot is that is to be divvied up. You know what I mean? And the same is true for a Hulu or a Netflix. They are disruptors. They have disrupted the previous platform that existed. Spotify, it is the record labels and the radio. Hulu and Netflix, it's kind of TV and whatnot. But ultimately, they are not going to be very concerned with, ironically, with the product that their platform is hosting, right? So I think the next phase of that will hopefully be something that still offers people the convenience of something like streaming, which I'm a big fan of, you know what I mean? I love the fact that I can release an album on Tuesday and somebody in North Carolina can hear it, but somebody in Japan can hear it too, right? Like that's an amazing thing that used to be very difficult. You used to ship CDs over to countries and deal with returns and deal with breakage and all these kind of things. So I think the model is good. I just think that we need to get the music back in the hands of the people that care for it. So not the tech bros and the people that make billions on the software and the apps but like people that really have an understanding of it. I think we need to go back to curation, to experts being respected, to music journalism, all these things that we kind of have sort of seen go by the wayside, like record stores, you know what I mean? Like where people work that can tell you things about the music they're selling, you know what I mean? Like I think all of these things are probably going to find their way back into the culture of consumption, because I think we sort of saw what happens if they're cut out of it, and I don't think it really works for us, So I'm optimistic when it comes to that, but I think we're going to see a move backwards to a more curated, more unique experience where you might have a music collection again, where you may not have everything that ever was made, because what does it all mean? You have everything, right?
We got to make some noise for that, because every word of that was gospel. Every single word.
I've thought about that. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of time.
Because these are things that we cover in not only our conversations with artists like yourselves, but amongst each other, where we talk about the importance of how music is not only presented, but also curated. And you don't need a parrot. Everything you said was exactly what we talk about all the time, which is why we know that we're on the same page, Yeah.
And I think it takes platforms like this, like literally, like I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It takes platforms like this where people realize, like, listening to music, discussing music, like talking about music among your peers, among people that you trust and love and like. When I was in high school, that was an activity, right? That's what you did. Like that was something you did. And I think at some point we kind of lost that a little bit, and music became, what we listen to, what we might have it playing when we do the dishes, or, you know what I'm saying? It became a less active part of our lives for some people, certainly not for us here, but I think it lost a little bit of meaning in that process. And I think people are starting to realize that and start to be more discerning about what they want to take in. So I think these are all things that we had to sort of go through after the age of piracy, when people basically decided music was free, yay. Like now we got to figure out, like, how do we get to the post piracy age and figure it out so that we can love what we love, and the people that make it can also make a decent living.
Right.
And we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And speaking of making a decent living, I cannot wait to purchase Terra Firma on vinyl. I can't wait. I know you ain't announced it yet, but when it comes out, I'm ready.
I'm going to wait a little bit on that because, like, and I mean a little bit, like, I don't mean that dramatic, but I really wanted to see what the reaction was, man. To go back to the beginning of the conversation, you don't know until you put it in the hands of the people. I was really proud of it. I was really confident, but I still wanted to see what would happen. And so I kind of want to let it breathe a little bit And
Absolutely.
then at some point, like, I definitely want to do that. I'm even thinking about a CD version, perhaps, because people have really shown this album so much love, man. Like, it's really incredible that I want to keep it. I want to keep it alive for the next. It's kind of what we talked about the Psy album, right? That's about to be a year old, and it deserves to be something that lives for a longer period of time, I think, because like a lot of people have not heard it yet, you know, and so I think you got to give these projects also the time of day to really kind of grow and mature and give it like a year or so. But yeah, I'm looking at all of that, and I hope to come to all of your respective cities, including Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, you know, I know all the. I mean, we joking about it, but you know, Cleveland has got a number of things going for it, including the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So there's plenty of reasons to go to Cleveland. Like, I was just really only joking.
You feel good now, Soups? You okay now, Soups? You good?
Although I will say about what, like, we used to, when we would tour, we did always play that little song. Come on down to Cleveland town, everyone. I don't know if you heard it, but it's a very funny Cleveland diss that we would always play driving to Cleveland. It's very funny. Very funny.
Yeah.
I'll send you that one in the DMs.
I've heard it.
Okay, you've heard it. Well, you might want to hear it again. I don't know.
We might want to hear it, you know?
So, Nicolay, another way we like to express ourselves on this show is obviously we're graphic t-shirt lovers, and we love merch. So one of the things we try to highlight, and I see you already on our page, that's why we know we could do this with you because you're part of us, that we rock, you know, shirts to kind of express ourselves. So I'm going to start with Christina because she got one of my favorite shirts on right now. I already saw it earlier.
So I have on my FAMU Change My Life, which is my alma mater, Florida A&M University, highest of Seven Hills in Tallahassee, Florida. October is homecoming month. So, of course, we save the best for last. And FAMU is homecoming is this weekend. So shout out to Florida A&M.
Yes, indeed. So, Soups, what 3X you got on? That hoodie, I've been peeping on the low. What's over there?
I got two things, right? So this is my merch. This is my Soups Kitchen hoodie.
Oh.
And then under, I have my
Just Good Music. Shout out to Brother Zoe.
So yeah.
I'm wearing a Tag 5 shirt with a couple of artists that I like. You may have heard of Nicolay. Robert Glasper, Alex Isley.
Yes.
Some group I heard about before. And Moonchild and Ego LMA. But obviously we had to highlight the Foreign Exchange, you know what I'm saying? Make sure that represented, you know what I mean?
We're a good company on that one for sure, man. That's a good option. Yeah, Alex Isley is to add to the list. Alex Isley, add that. Yes, Alex Isley.
Yeah.
Let's get it. And then we saw you wearing that Bang t-shirt.
Yeah, Bang. This is the Bang. This is the logo for Bang, and I'm a strong believer in that I rep the people that I believe in. So I usually wear shirts that are either, artists that I've worked with or otherwise. And this happens to be a particular comfortable t-shirt. Bang knows he's real smooth. I mean, this feels good on your butt. It's just really good. Like soft. It's ironically Carolina blue, which I don't know that he realized when he did it, being from Minneapolis, but so there's another reason. So yeah, shout out to my brother Bang. That's a real good dude. Him and I have gotten really close over the last 2 years. And this is a Bane original that you can get at banemusic.com, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of which, Nicolay, before we go, like I think we can all we've said it a million times on this, but this is one of our most highly anticipated interviews. One we were super excited about. And we are so glad this has been wonderful. We got so many gems, many gems. And we thank you for the time that you've taken with us. We want to salute you and congratulate you on Terra Firma. We love the album. We're not just gassing you up. We really do fuck with everything on the album. We really mean that. So in the spirit of that, can you please let our listeners know how they can get in contact with you, stay connected with you, and purchase your music, all of that good stuff?
Yes, they can definitely find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook and Twitter too, but Instagram has kind of been more my jam as of late. They can find our stuff on all of the streaming platforms because we believe in meeting people where they are. So stream away with a guilt-free conscience. Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, whatever your jam is. If you want to support on a deeper level, we have all of our stuff up on a platform called Bandcamp, which is more a purchase-based platform. Support is really helpful in 2024. You might find some of our stuff in record stores, the record stores that still are holding strong. We've got some vinyl and some CDs out there. Come see us whenever you see any of us live. Some of us do shows. I know Zoe is always touring. Go see Zoe. He's got an amazing show with Tall Black Guy and Deborah Bond. Go see Cy Smith if you can ever catch her. She's an amazing live performer, definitely worth seeing. So I would say if you don't know some of the particular members of the collective just yet, like there's a lot to discover. So shout out to everybody that we've been talking about today, because I could certainly not be me without them. And I really want to make sure that more than anything, this is a family thing. Like I could not be the producer and the musician that I am without certainly Fonte or any of these amazing people. And they're all on Instagram and they're all on Twitter and Facebook. Now, don't hit me up if they don't respond to you, because that ain't got nothing to do with you. I don't speak for them. So you might be going in spam folders, or you might be getting blocked or whatever. I don't know that part. But yeah, hit us up. Like hit us up. FE Official on Instagram. I'm Nicolay Music on Instagram, and I tend to respond to most every message that I get, if it's not, unless it's truly outlandish or nasty. I love interacting with people. Hit me up. And
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much. It's been such a blessing and such an honor, and I had such a great time. I really, I don't do this a lot, and that is kind of by design, because I want the interviews, or like this is more than an interview. This is a conversation among friends, right? So I really, to me, it's more about just finding the right people and the like-minded people of the world, and have a great conversation. So I really enjoyed this so much, and let's do another one in a couple of years and see what's happening in the meantime, right?
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
We'll all have a couple more grays. Yes.
And the young one in the group, I was going to say the young one in the group will probably have grays as well too. He acts like he's like 20 years younger, but
I have some
here, bro. I mean, listen, I think the beautiful thing about aging, which is confrontational. I don't know about you, but when I turned 50, the month leading up to it, I was like, I don't know how to feel about this shit. Like I just, I distinctly remember when my dad turned 50 and I thought he was old as hell. You know, and here we are. You know what I mean? So it's been really interesting realizing that you have more years behind you than you have in front of you. God willing, because I don't know if I can get to 100. I really don't think I want to. But nah, it's been really interesting. And one thing I wanted to say about the collective that is beautiful to me is like we're all still here. We're all still healthy, and we're all working. So like that's a massive blessing, man. Of course, So that's really the beauty of getting older together. Is just like you get your relationship deepen and evolve. You know what I mean? So that's a beautiful thing.
And before we end, I want to say rest in peace to DJ Clark Kent.
Man, listen, that was a shock to me.
Yeah, that was
I didn't know that he was ill, and maybe that was for the best. Maybe that was by design, but that was a shock.
Yeah,
I think a reminder that we all got to be that we all got to look out for each other and our own health. You know what I mean? Because that's really at the end of the day all we got. But yeah, I was so sad to learn that, and rest in peace for sure.
Rest in peace, and that's why we, like I said earlier, we're florists here on this podcast. We make sure that we're of age enough to know that tomorrow ain't promised. So we're thankful for tomorrow, but we're gonna talk about today. You know what I mean? So that's why having you here and having the chance to talk to you, and we know that you like to live your life and not be in the public eye as much. We respect it tremendously, we really do, which is why this means so much to us that you spent some time with us and really capped off a really amazing year, not only for Foreign Exchange Music Group, but also for this show. And I can't think of anybody better to wrap this year up with. We really do appreciate you so much, and we just wish you the best, all the success, anything that you need from us. It's just a question away. Like we love you, we support you, and whatever we can do to help further what you're doing, it's nothing. Just please say something. We will on it. We're on it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I mean, we couldn't do it without people like you and y'all in particular. And even I told Fonte like this afternoon, I was like, yo, I'm doing Soul Curators today. And he was really excited to hear it because you guys have made a name for yourselves, definitely in our camp. You know what I'm saying? Because it is a beautiful thing to be understood. And that's kind of the best way that I can say it, to be understood, to be felt. So yeah, you guys have built a name for yourselves, like for sure among our people, but I think in a wider sense too. And we just everybody in the team really appreciates all that you've done this year for a number of our families. So yeah, thank you so much. Please keep going. Please keep going, even when it gets tough. Like, keep going.
We got more work to do.
Okay. I know what you're about to do, Soups. Don't do it. Don't do it, Soups. I know what you're about to do. We got more work to do
because there are so many people that may not know about you guys collectively and individually. So we, as curators, as DJs, because I'm not a DJ, they are. We got more work to do. We have more work to do because people need to know about you guys collectively and individually.
That's facts.
I know. I'm not about to do nothing. I just got it. Okay, so you know how we touched you and we was letting you know things like that right there. It touched me because we do this thing and we really don't be feeling like people understand it. We just doing it because we have a love for it. But the fact that you just said like y'all reaching people and and this is exactly what we wanted to do and why we're doing it. We wanted to make sure that artists that we love and enjoy feel comfortable and have a place to talk and release music and different things like that. And the fact that you just said that, you the biggest artist, man. Like you one of our biggest artists.
Well, listen, like please keep going because like what we talked about earlier about these things becoming more and more important again, like it's like this is what I'm talking about, like the deeper kind of connections behind the music. So like, yeah, I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship, man. Like we both need each other. And so just, even when you think like maybe like every now and then, like, what am I doing this for? Like you're doing it for somebody that you don't even really know yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
Amen.
it's no different for us. So like, just keep at it, and everything's gonna be all right.
We definitely received.
A genius once said, I got a feeling we're gonna be all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor to be on the Soul Curators Podcast with the one and only Nicolay. Please make sure you go get Terra Firma, stream it to death, purchase it, do whatever you got to do. Go to Bandcamp and pay for it. Go get it and play it to death. All right? Please do that. Thank you for supporting the Soul Curators Podcast. This has been an amazing season. Thank you to all of our guests. Mr. Alpete, we can't thank you enough. Christina Curate, you are everything. Mr. Soup's Kitchen, bro, you are our backbone. You keep us on point. I am just glad to be part of the collective. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Goodbar, for being the spokesperson of the group. Come on now, don't
It's love. It's all
your
love.
light.
It's all love. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Soul Curators Podcast. We will see you next season. Peace and love, everybody.
Peace.
This has been an amazing season of the Soul Curators Podcast.
And we want to thank each and every one of you for listening and supporting the show.
And a special thank you to all of our guests for making this season special by spending time with us.
Cy Smith.
Be My Fiasco.
DJ Francis J.
Ebonique.
Miss Maureen, My Dukes Yancey.
Misha.
Darian Brockington, a.k.a. D. Brock.
Carlita Duran.
E. Jones.
Tamisha Waden.
Mr. Alpete.
And Nicolay.
We'll catch y'all in season 3.
Bye.
Peace.